If your glucose level has ever been assayed, then you need to know the correct interpretation of the lab values you have been given. Without further ado, let's go together and find out what that lab result about glucose is all about. Before delving further, here is the one. Any value less than 4 millimoles per liter is hypoglycemic. And hypoglycemic level is pretty dangerous. If the value is less than 2.8 millimoles per liter, call 911. Now, sometimes when random blood sugar is taken, we expect the value to be less than 7.8 millimoles per liter, but we don't want it to be below 4 millimoles per liter, which is hypoglycemic state. If random blood sugar has been taken 2 hours after feeding, that is 2 hours postprandial, and the value is greater than 11.1 millimoles per liter, then you are dealing with diabetes mellitus. But some other investigations could be done, and a repeat could be done as well. Random blood sugar 2 hours postprandial, and the value is between 7.8 to 11.0 millimoles per liter. It means you are at the border of becoming a diabetic patient. So this is pre-diabetes mellitus or borderline diabetes mellitus. Fasting blood sugar is expected to be within the normal range of 4.0 to 5.5 millimoles per liter. I will talk more about that later. CSF glucose is expected to be between 2.8 to 4.2 millimoles per liter. Glucose tolerance test, 75 grams for 2 hours, and using that to determine type 2 diabetes mellitus will be discussed further right here. Or glucose tolerance test, 100 grams for 3 hours, and gestational diabetes mellitus determination will also be discussed further right here. Now, gestational diabetes mellitus. We can start with glucose challenge test. In this case, there's no need of fasting before coming for that. At that stage, you'll be given a syrup that is rich in glucose, and that will be 50 grams. Then you'll be instructed to wait for 1 hour. If the value is 10.6 millimoles per liter, then we can be telling you there's a problem, gestational diabetes mellitus. If the value is 7.8 millimoles per liter or less, but must not be less than 4 millimoles per liter, that is within the normal range. If we are faced with the value that is greater than 7.8, but less than 10.6 millimoles per liter, we cannot yet say it is gestational diabetes mellitus. Then something will follow. We will go for another test, glucose tolerance test. Remember, this is glucose challenge test, right? In a pregnant woman, right? Now, when we get this value, this range, anything in between this, then we'll go for 100 grams. So, glucose tolerance test for gestational diabetes mellitus. We've gotten the value that was greater than 7.8 but less than 10.6 millimoles per liter, right? Then we are calling for glucose tolerance test. In that case, you'll be given 100 grams of glucose. Here, you will be required to fast before this test, and the fasting will just take about 8 hours, okay? And the first sample will be taken immediately you come back to the clinic, and that will be recorded as the fasting blood sugar. Anything 5.3 millimole per liter is normal, but we don't want 4. Anything lower than 4, we don't want that. So 4 to 5.3 millimoles per liter will be fine. Then you wait for 1 hour. The first 1 hour after the intake of the 100 grams of glucose, we are going to check that. If it is about 10 millimoles per liter, that is still fine. Then at the second hour, 2 hours after the intake of the glucose, if we are dealing with 8.6 millimoles per liter, that is fine, or less, okay? At the third hour after the intake of the glucose, 7.8 millimoles per liter will be fine. Now, glucose in non-pregnant individuals. Glucose tolerance test here will be preceded by fasting, and then we'll take the value before giving you the glucose. We have to rule out other conditions that could alter the value of the glucose, like if you are on certain medications, you have some other conditions, medical conditions, we'll rule all those out, okay? Then we'll take the sample for fasting blood sugar before giving you the 75 gram glucose. You can see the value here. Here, we are going to give 75 gram. But remember, the other time when I said glucose tolerance test for gestational diabetes mellitus, it was 100 gram, okay? Then, we will take the sample 2 hours after you've been given the glucose. Remember, in the case of gestational diabetes mellitus, we'll take 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, okay? Now, what are we looking for? Any value less than 7.8 millimoles per liter is fine with us. Remember, must not be less than 4. Any value 7.8 to 11 millimoles per liter is pointing to pre-diabetes mellitus or impaired glucose tolerance result, okay? Or borderline diabetes mellitus. Any value that is at the level of 11.1 millimoles per liter or greater than that is pointing to diabetes mellitus. Now, fasting blood sugar. So many people will give so many values of what is expected when it's about fasting blood sugar. But I will limit myself to World Health Organization's report. Fasting blood sugar that is between 3.9 to 5.6 millimoles per liter is normal. If it is 5.6 to 6.9 millimoles per liter, then we have impaired fasting glucose, okay, or pre-diabetes mellitus or borderline diabetes mellitus. But once we reach 7.0 millimoles per liter or greater, we will repeat the fasting blood sugar. We will do some other investigations like hemoglobin A1C and so on, because it is pretty difficult to label anyone with diabetes mellitus. They are going to live with it, it's going to affect their insurance and everything, their lifestyle, and so on. So, you want to be careful before giving that unpleasant news. At the same time, we need to help the affected individual, right? So we'll do it 2 times. If we're getting that value or greater than 7.0 millimoles per liter, then we can comfortably tell the individual this is the problem. Now, others, outside World Health Organization report can give us, depending on the literature you are reviewing, the textbook or the video channel you're watching and so on, 3.6 to 6 millimoles per liter is normal, while 6.1 to 6.9 millimoles per liter is impaired, fasting glucose. But we all agree that once it is 7.0 millimoles per liter or greater, it is diabetes mellitus from fasting blood sugar. I hope this will be helpful. But in summary, we don't want anything less than 4 to 6 millimoles per liter will be fine. But in gestational diabetes mellitus, please pause and rewind. Study it again. Thanks for listening. Please, you can drop your comments. Remember to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it.